George Lowe is a former member of parliament for North Dine. He's here. Thanks for joining me.
Good morning, Rolly.
And Emmanuel Chamantinge Jakon is a member of parliament for Ayawaso West Wogon constituency. Thanks for joining me, Mr. Chamantinge.
Thank you for having me, Robert.
You know, this month has been dedicated as the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Yeah. And we like to share messages each day. And so each morning we try to do that. And if you know anybody who needs to get the scans as well as the checks, the normal checks, so we all have to encourage them for them to go and do that. Stephanie?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. All right.
I think it's a call in the right direction. And let me commend the media for sustained campaign. And this is the second time I've been here in about a week, and you're spotting your
ribbon.
But yeah, and I think that it's good. It's commendable.
We'll give
and
one.
I think that there are many other people. I know that my good friend Bolari and others are all involved.
Also part of the
and many other very prominent people are involved. And so kudos. Let's sustain the campaign. It's very good.
I think that also all the cancers have become major killers now. And I am happy that the multimedia group has taken on to do this. I think it is important. Every day you hear somebody died from breast cancer. Sometimes it is needless. I think that the state of medicine now, very clearly, if it is detected early enough, it is manageable. So I think the awareness must increase. People must know that it is better. Prevention is better than cure, and it is preventable. I want you to continue to work.
Thank you very much, though. But I know that your constituency, and well, you as MP also didn't witness very good things, just like the whole of Ghana. The last Saturday evening, we had a great disaster on our hands. The record levels of the injuries, again, were up there to the roof. And we're back to the fore of the discussions about emergency placement and safety issues. Good morning.
Good morning again. Good morning to both of you and to our cherished viewers, most especially my constituents. And may I kindly use this platform to convey my most heartfelt sympathies to those that lost their lives in this unfortunate, bizarre accident that happened at Atomic Junction, and also to wish a speedy recovery to the several hundreds that are in hospital. I think that like His Excellency the President said, never again should we allow these things to happen. The reality is that, like in a statement that was made by the chairman of the Select Committee on Mines and Energy in Parliament yesterday, I want to reiterate. For me, the operative word was that there was an operative word about which connotes unnecessary. Okay. I think that we should all patiently wait for the final reports by the investigators. But I happened to have been on site around 9:30. Yep. And then in the following morning, I also went
9:30 of the evening
of the evening. Indeed, the unfortunate incident happened right in my constituency.
At the periphery.
Yes, right at the edge of that. It's like, yeah. And wow. The worrying thing is that it's quite a densely populated area. You know, there is this LNG filling station that has been there for as long 20 years or more.
Yes, I'm told in the late 80s that's when it came
Yes,
along, mid-80s.
yes. Indeed, if my memory serves me right, I think it even belonged to one of the multinational oil companies that was sold to this man.
Okay.
And then then I think there's a lorry station there. People trading.
Restaurant.
Next door is
So it's a beehive of activity.
beehive of activity. Next door, there are 3 or 4 privately owned hostels on the University of Ghana campus. Okay, there's TF, there's Evandi, there's Bunny, and I think there's Pentagon. What I hear, it's alleged, is that there was a leakage from a tanker loaded with gas had come, and there was a leakage. And they were not able to contain the leakage. From the general science we all learned when we were in secondary school, if you have a combustible material and you have an ignition source and you have oxygen, things will burn. LNG is really and truly combustible. And indeed, unlike petrol that would ordinarily stay, LNG moves. So it moved and found an ignition source. Okay. Whether it was somebody who was roasting chinchinga or not, it is another matter. But actually, the gas moved and found an ignition source and sparked. So that is where but you see, for me, I want to go back to the basics. Why this accident happened was because somebody was not following the safety procedures. This accident happened because somebody was negligent. You know, assuming what we hear is right, I want to ask the people that manage the station, do they know what to do? Are they trained in the event that there is a leakage? And in life, accidents happen. You see, the little regulation I know, virtually everything you regulate has risks and benefits. Roland, I state as a matter of scientific fact that even paracetamol, common tablet like paracetamol, if you don't manage it well, it will kill you.
Immediately. It kills faster than most.
Pala.
I am telling you as a matter of scientific fact that ordinary paracetamol will kill you. But it is all about managing risk with benefits. And I think that why this has happened and why, looking back, why all the previous incidents have happened. If we drill, if we do a proper diagnostics, we will find out that we did not take care of the safety procedures. You see, there is a principle of natural science. It is called the Murphy's Law. It says that anything that will go wrong will go wrong. Anything that will go wrong will go wrong unless you prevent it, unless you stop it. And this is exactly what has happened. You see, for me, going forward, I think we must re-look every single one of these stations. If I had power, I would say that maybe for the next week or so, let everybody stop. Let there be a thorough audit. We must audit the people who work there. Are they trained? Do they understand what they are doing? Or Sabita Fracture, they have just been brought from somewhere and say, I don't have a job, do some job. This is a semi-skilled thing. It is not just for anybody. The person who is doing it must have some training. He must clearly understand that in the event of a leak, these are the procedures. I want to find out, those that sell LNG, do they have standard operating procedures? Do the people who work for them clearly understand the standard operating procedures? Number two, when assuming that there was a leak, did they have the wherewithal to contain the leak?
As in,
No.
can they contain the leak?
Can they contain the leak? Do you have the chemicals to neutralize the
leak.
the LNG? Do you have something that you must release immediately that will neutralize the LNG? I think that these are the things we must begin to interrogate.
Charlie, science is hard.
And let us find out whether all the other stations have this. You see, I am being careful because there are governmental agencies involved. I want to believe that the NPA did its work. I want to believe so. I want to believe that the EPA did its work. I want to believe that the AMA and the town and country planning all did their work. But if you give the license, beyond licensing, is there somebody who is ensuring that the safety measures are adhered to on a regular basis? In some jurisdictions, there is an agency, health and safety executive. We don't have any here. You see, many times we have a semblance of institutions. One of them, I was mentioning it in Parliament yesterday, factory inspection in the Department of Ministry of Labor. Very critical organization, but they are bereft of everything. They have no vehicles, nothing. So how do you expect all the factories here in the North Industrial Area and in the South Industrial Area and the Tema Industrial Area to be inspected?
Because they tend to look at whether they are working with their effluents, emissions.
I am saying that when you have been given the permission to do something, there must be somebody who is supervising and overseeing and making sure that the health and the safety issues are 100% complied with. You know, I say again, anything that will go wrong can go wrong.
Okay.
A gas station will leak gas. A petrol station will leak the fuel. But there must be something to contain it. Until and unless we are sure that it is done, then we are in big trouble.
Well, there's somebody in my area, and I say just at Ajekwejo, and from there you go through Santor, you can go through there to get to Medina or even the Majo area and all that. So, but at the end of this, they said they saw the explosion. I didn't see it at the time. But it means that it was as serious as it could be. It means that it also brings into question our readiness for disasters in managing such events when they occur.
Well, thank you, and let me say good morning to our cherished viewers and to both of you. And let me also express my profound, to the families of the injured and those who have lost their lives. May the good Lord himself take care of their souls. And I wish those who are in hospital and who have been discharged speedy recovery. Roland, you see, in this country, I've always said that in this country, we like operating in a particular manner, default mode, hoping that everything will work. I've done some little investigation. It's not a very extensive investigation. But my information, like my big brother was saying, was in actual fact, the reason why nobody lost their lives, the operatives there, was that it got to a time when they realized that they could not control.
Because of the force of the gas.
The gas, and then they took off.
But they went around to warn people.
But I'm saying that he said something very critical. He said, at that point in time, did they have any knowledge of what to do in that circumstance? Is the answer going to warn people, hey, gas is coming, run away? Can you run faster than a gas? You understand? But you see, let's start from the very basic. So this is a gas station. Beside it is a petrol station. Across the road is a petrol station. Then you have a place where people stand and take cars. Then you have a mini roundabout where cars are perpetually in a queue. Okay? On the other side, you have a petrol filling station. On the other side, you have a petrol filling station. And 100 meters down the line, you have a Goyle. Across it, you have a
filling station.
Yeah, and then you also have KFC and all that. And then you have Bannister's, which is a restaurant. All clustered in about 200 meters radius. And then you have a university, Wisconsin, you have Presec, then you have Legon.
IPS.
You have IPS. So in Trinity College, by extension. Then Action School behind them. So you have a cluster of about 40, 50, 60,000 people on daily basis just operating, minus those, the barbering shops, the kebab sellers, and all the other things that are happening there simultaneously. So for me, I say that it's only by the grace of God that we had minimal number of casualties and fatalities. It could have been
worse.
Terrible. We could have woken up to the most, dangerous calamity in the history of this country. And we were just lucky that it was gas, and that when the rains came down at a particular time, it simmered the thing a bit. If it were petrol, the petrol ran at the surface of the water, and it would have gone faster. So
indeed, even if with the gas, I think the luck was that the trajectory, the escape went up. So it kept going up. So I was at, if it had gone lateral. I was at Teshinugwa Beyond, and I could stand up and see the fire. Not that they said. I saw the fire. And if you know I wasn't on site, but if you feel, because my cousins live just behind in Wisconsin, so I called, and my cousin was evacuating my auntie who has a problem with her leg, and he couldn't even find his car key. So you can imagine, my cousin's wife was driving in the key. She jumped out of the car and took off. I think she thought the legs would carry her faster than the car, because they were in traffic. And so many things happened that day. It sends so many signals to us. But you see, what is our reaction? Our reaction is that let's clamp down people, let's close down this, let's do all this.
Is that not the way to go?
But why? Haven't we gone there before? Is this the first disaster? I was very, very sad when the last one before this one, the trade fair one, had to take away the life of
the sister of
Alan Tremantin, a very sweet woman.
Yes.
You know,
I also had encountered several.
Yes, occasionally I used to go to the.
I used to report on her non-traditional.
Yes, I used to go and see if I can pick up artifacts and things like that. So it's somebody, a very pleasant, sweet woman. Just and all these things when it happened, why we had during the NDC time when it happened, we had a minister with camera traveling from filling station to filling station all over. To what end? Yesterday I heard her talk about interference from other people which didn't. But you see, it is not about audits per se. I agree when the audit will lead to the establishment of capacity and know-how at the station. But look, he's traveled out. He has traveled, lived outside extensively. There are times when you go to a place and there's a filling station and a hospital at the top. Yeah. You go to a place and there's a hotel and a filling station. So if anybody tells you that Simplicita, where you side the filling station,
it's not just the site.
Today, if you I woke up at 2, and I normally watch CNN, and the California fire is on for 3. Why was it caused by gas? So that is not really the issue. The issues are that why don't we have a body? NPA is not living up to its expectation. All these regulatory bodies, we are doing it half-half, because one, we are worried about salaries. We are worried about so many things. But like he says, in the UK and other places, and even at the mines, the safety of health, they are the top-notch people.
They will tell you, shut this operation immediately.
So to the extent that if you go to the mines, when AGC was AGC, you will see competition among mines, safety department. They compete. How prepared are you? Have you ever heard that our regulatory authorities have done a safety simulation or something? No, they are sitting there in the offices. They want to buy V8 and sit in. Occasionally, they drive around filling stations, and what do they do? They are checking whether you've paid things and not what standards you have in place. They are more interested in whether you've renewed this or renewed that, or if you renewed your APA license. That is not the remit. And you see, here is a case where we have to give people authority that when he walks into your filling station, like the former, is it Tankansi we used to call it? So when he's coming,
You're afraid.
You are afraid. You are on daily basis as an owner of a business. You are telling yourself that, look, I don't want these guys on my neck. And so day in, day out, time in, time out, you are checking the spectrum. Is this thing okay? Is this thing okay? Is this thing? Why don't we have a lot of plane crashes in the world? It's because at any point when they land.
Or why don't we have blasts at all?
Yeah. You know, it is because
that's where the whole gas and petrol or bus.
Yeah, it is because on daily basis.
So it's untenable.
It's on daily basis. Every time there is somebody who's remittance.
And there are industries next to bus or even top.
You see, so the point is that, like I say, we do things in a default mode.
We think that it will work.
We think that it will work.
Nature.
And so you set up a filling station. There is even a management. You go, there's some person who they say is a station manager. If you interact with him, he may not have no car about chemistry. He's talking about combusting and things like that. He may not have heard the word before. Maybe he's the owner's brother. So they say, oh, you go and manage the filling station. So in a disaster situation, he has no knowledge. Do this, shut it this, you go here. No, you do this. We were lucky though. And I commend some organizations. Yeah. The Electricity Company of Ghana. I'll salute them for once. They put out light
in that area.
In that whole environment. Because if they had caught up with our electricity pole or something, we could have been singing a different story. Then
Fire service.
But fire service were well placed. And so they lived up to it. It tells you that if you equip them, they will live up. Because Legon has a fire service. And then Medina has a fire.
And I think some came from the airport.
Yeah, some came from the airport. So there were fire stations scattered all over. So they responded. The response time, though, was not as quick as I would have wished.
Oh, they did well.
But they did well. I mean, looking at their history, I think that this time they lived up to it. So yes, some of the people, it just tells you that if we are
you
disaster
must also
ready.
mention the police and not
Yeah.
well.
Police. In fact, I was caught up on the Spintex Road. Within minutes, the police had come in and started, and the traffic started flowing. NADMO were there.
So it's the responses to emergencies.
Yes.
It's not as if the emergency will not happen.
Yes.
They always will happen.
So and that is why we're able to localize the thing quickly and then deal. And then by 5 a.m., understand the fire had virtually been dealt with by a fire service. So that again was very commendable. Like I said, the Californian fires have been running for 3 days, and with all the arsenals of the American fire service.
Let me just add this. The thing is that all the 7 people that died, I stand for correction. There is not a single one that died as a result of direct contact with the explosion.
Or the externalities.
Yes,
either because of the waves, or maybe they were running.
I am saying that all the 7 who died.
It's not because they were walking around.
It was all consequential. They either saw the fire and then they jumped, or they were running away and then they were hit by a car.
But that was also indicative of the fact that, just like the two of you have mentioned, if perhaps we had better knowledge of the safety issues.
This is exactly where I want to come to. You see, I think that it is a little worrisome that we have institutions. We have NADMO, National Disaster Management Organization. But I want to find out, do all of us as Ghanaians have any idea about emergency preparedness?
What they do.
In this place we are sitting right now, touch wood, if something happens, do you know what will happen? Where will you go? Where will I go? Is there? But you see, I remember when I was in primary school 50 years ago, we used to have the fire service come to us.
Even in the 80s, when I used to go to Services Primary.
Yeah.
At Birmingham.
Yes.
Yeah, we used to do
fire drills.
Some simulations, yes.
Assuming there is fire. Yesterday I had opportunity to speak on the floor of the House. I said, even in an enlightened place like Parliament, assuming something happens, me and my colleague members of Parliament, if I live in my house and my gas starts leaking, do I know what to do? Me, I'm a scientist. Do I know what to do? If I don't know, how much more my colleague who is a lawyer? You know, we live with the things, and there is And there is nothing that we all do. I'm saying that all the people that passed away, it was not as a direct result of the explosion. In the aftermath of the explosion, are we as a people trained on the ways to react? If there is an explosion, what must you do? Even the way, sometimes when there are accidents, the way we carry the injured is what kills them. Yeah. Sometimes it's not the accident.
Because we're told that from the leakage, the time of the leakage to the time of the blast, it took about 15 to 20 minutes. So perhaps maybe the panic and the excesses that follow.
You see?
Anyway.
But the last thing, if you permit me to just add, is that I think that we must also, this issue about attitudinal change, and it's so important. Look.
You mean the general public?
All of us, as a people, when you go to a filling station, they will tell you that put off your engine. A lot of people go to the filling stations, and whilst the petrol is being discharged into their fuel tanks, the engine is running. Because he has his air conditioner on, he doesn't want to put off the air conditioner. Another thing, you will find out that
don't use your phone.
Don't use your phone. Indeed, sometimes you will find out that the gentleman that is dispensing
on the phone.
Is actually on his phone.
Yeah.
But the phone emits, I think, electromagnetic rays, and it could be an ignition source. But we all do this and assume nothing will happen. So I as for this one, I think where we have gotten to is because we are not being responsible. We are not following the rules. I hate to say this, but we are becoming like people that just don't respect the law, that don't respect the rules, that don't respect procedures, and it cuts across all the things we do.
Charlie, and sometimes the innocent lives that get lost in the milieu of all this, it's always a worry. I could have imagined.
Just a minute.
I could have imagined if the thing had happened on Friday, where we have Russia, people cannot move out.
I know, but you see, I think that this is one of the things that should bring us together as a people, looking for solutions to our problems, rather than the kind of things I'm hearing and reading about. I think that we should eschew that kind of. The pastors are saying. I read something. The pastor says politicians had gone for blood money, and that's why you had that kind of nonsense. I mean, what kind of business is that? I think that we should do away with that kind of things and stay on the course. Because when it does happen, Roland, he doesn't know you, doesn't know me.
Yeah. Roland,
all right. I want to move on. The president,
to comment on this one.
The president has formally presided over a ceremony that is announcing restoration of allowances to nurses, midwives. That's very good. So we're told that the teacher trainees will follow soon. I'll start with you. You wanted to make a comment.
Roland, this business of, sometimes I don't believe. All of us spend our time watching Nigerian movies, and every time in the Nigerian movie, the only way you solve a problem is through magic or juju. Yeah. So anything that happens, we are not even able to attribute.
There's a pastor saying that he had prophesied. So this one, it was a natural.
We are not even able to make the attributions. Look, this accident happened because people were careless. People didn't know what to do. Yeah. People were so poorly trained.
It's not a prophecy.
And I am certain that gas leakages happen in other places. They contain them.
What about our homes?
They contain them.
Charlie, let's leave that and talk.
Nurses and midwives, they have allowances now. Well, I don't know whether I can play an insert from the president, but if we get it ready, but you start the discussion.
Roland, life is about choices. Even in our own domestic settings, between you and your wife, you decide that I will rather not buy the shirts and you should not buy the Brazilian hair. We should use the money to pay for our child to go to a better school. Instead of buying a Mercedes-Benz, you will decide that you will buy a Toyota, so that you will use the money to help you complete the house you are building. Life is about choices. And I hear the people that go to management school, one of the things that's mantras is leadership is cause, everything else is effect. A leader must decide that this is the way I want to run my organization, my nation. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, as president, when he was flag bearer, stated without equivocation that the way to develop this country is to educate people, and that he will spare nothing in that process. He said that he will redefine what basic education is and move it from JHS, from a kindergarten to JHS to SSS, and that it was going to be free. Roland, let me state that it is not an easy option. Look, this thing might cost us in excess of 1 billion cedis a year. You could use that billion to do some other thing. Oh. But in weighing, in retrospect, in looking at developments all over the world, he believes that if he invests that money in schooling, in educating those who need the education, ultimately, the development that this country seeks to achieve will come. He promised free SHS. It has been delivered. He promised that we will restore training allowances for nursing students and teacher training students. Yesterday, symbolically, and I am happy that we did not do it we didn't cover it up. We didn't do it on a cover up. You know, the good book of the Christians talks about anybody who lights a lamp must not hide it under a bushel. We will announce it on the top of the roofs for the good people of this country to clearly understand that you made a choice. Voting is a choice. The NDC presented their options. We presented our options. The good people of this country thought that our option was a better option. So if the things you promised them you are delivering, you must tell the good people that we promised you this. The good people of Ghana, here you are. The president, when he was a flag bearer, promised free SHS. A few weeks ago, he launched the free SHS. He promised he will restore, and you know, you ask why. But if the nurses and the teachers' allowance was never taken away, then there would have been no need for a restoration. But it was taken away by a government that thought it was not necessary. He said, I will do it. It was my word against their word. You listened to me. I want to honor my promise to you. Fidelity, it is important. When the time comes and we begin to do one village, one dam, we will go out there and tell the people, we promised you one village, one dam. You see, Roland, we must look beyond the promises. What will one village, one dam do for the people? In some places in the north where there is only one rainy season, if you can drill a borehole and mechanize it so that in the dry season they have a secure source of water to water their vegetables so they can have 2 seasons. Ultimately, their earnings, their incomes will improve. So it is not just about building a dam, it is about ensuring development. It is about putting money into the pockets of people. When $1 million in one constituency comes, I am waiting for it for my constituency. There are some major drains we can do there.
East Legon, Abelempe.
Even you know,
the
just
periphery
behind
of
Peace
Atomic
FM,
Junction.
there's a drain we must do.
The 1 million will not do that.
Roland, over 4 years, it will be 4 million. It will finish it.
The year is almost ending. Do you have your allocation?
It is coming. You understand me? It's a process. And in any case, we have a 4-year mandate. So, Roland, I have heard people say it is unnecessary. It is putting up a show. But who said that politics is Salvation Army? Roland, I am a politician. I am not a Salvation Army missionary.
It's for you to show the people this is what you can do.
I am not.
To better their life.
No, I'm not an Ahmadiyya missionary who has left everything he has in Pakistan and I have come and I'm living somewhere in a remote and preaching the good message of Allah. No, I'm not a Salvation Army missionary who has come from Wales and I'm living in a village in the eastern region and converting people to Christ. No, I'm a politician. I seek the mandate of the people. Akufo-Addo sought the mandate. They listened to him and they voted for him. When he has accomplished what he promised them, he must go and show it to them. I said the good book of the Christian says nobody lights a light and puts it under a bushel. Nobody does it. Even the Christian religion tells us that you don't do that. Thank you.
And I know that the argument for the NDC and its candidate and president then, John Dramani Mahama, was that, well, you have access to funding, but this time through the student loan system.
Well, Roland, it's very interesting listening to my brother, Honorable Jaku, and I think that he's entitled to his views. Nobody will take. We are governments, and therefore we have policy choices. And so he said it's all about choices. But it's all about choices people made, and it will be about choices people will make in 4 years' time. Now, we had a clear message as well. One, we were saying that, look, we want many more nurses to have access, and therefore, the money that we are going to give, or that we used to give, we'll use it to provide more facilities. And not only that, like you rightly said, we are saying that we've elevated you to tertiary status. So why don't you take advantage of the student loan process so that many more of your siblings can get opportunity to go? As we sit now, because of this amount of money that they are paying, there's a quota system that has been put in place.
And the amount is 232 million.
Wait a minute. Quota system that has been put in place. And this quota system, okay, is making about 40 to 60% of people stay at home. They won't have access to nursing education, to teacher training education, because there is no money. And you see, last week there was an argument here. We resolved it one way or the other on our own. But the fact still remains that we had to take money from another account to pay for the student, for the free SHS. How are we getting money to pay for this one when government itself says we don't have money, we are not raising money? But even then, they are quoting 232 million or so for this thing. But that is also a false information. Because we are in September. So if you are paying 4 million per person per month, right, times 58,000, calculate it and see. It's less than 30 million, at least for this year. So to say that you are spending 232 million for this year, it's misleading.
Per month?
No, not per month. If you could do the calculation, for, I mean,
it's per month.
I am saying that it's impossible. It's impossible for you to spend 200. Yeah, it's not. It's impossible. So that is one. Two, Roland, have you paid somebody's school fees in nursing training before?
No.
They are paying like close to 4,000. So if you are saying that, oh, I'm giving you an allowance of 400, what does that do to them? Why don't you even use that money to say that, okay, I'll subsidize heavily how much you pay to enter, so that many more people can? Yeah. So it means that you are ousting many more people.
It's approximately what they pay, because government is going to pay 10 months. They stay in school for 8 months. Government is paying 10 months.
10 months.
Roland.
Okay.
Roland.
400 Ghana cedis.
Roland.
Times 10.
Roland.
Times 10 is 4,000.
They have launched the thing, and they said it will start from September. So do you think that, are you saying that they are going to pay back allowances for the last 7 months that they were not in school?
No, they are paying from September.
Yes. So I'm saying that for this year, when you say that for this year, 232, I'm
so
saying that it is
adds
not.
up.
It doesn't add up.
252, 232.
Roland, what figures are you looking at?
Yeah, it's 400.
I'm saying that you are using 10 months.
Yes.
And for this year, listen, for this year, 10 months, they are not going to pay them 10 months. For this year, they are starting from September to the end of the year. It's not 10 months, Roland. Do your maths well.
Okay, I get your point.
Yes, so it cannot be
but
that.
We're talking about an academic period.
No, listen, you are saying for this year, and I'm saying that for this year, they're not going to spend that amount of money.
You mean up to December?
Yes, so it's misleading. It's misleading. It's misleading. So the maths doesn't add up. But I'm saying that for me,
terminates in August.
Forget about academic year. I'm saying that when you are telling me I'm spending so much money on you, Roland, tell me the right amount.
Academic year terminates in September.
I am saying yes.
In August.
So no, this year. Because 2018
academic year. Education, you don't talk about year.
Listen, 2018.
You talk about year or but in academic
year. Please, Roland.
Yes, sir.
These monies are voted for in the budget.
Yes, sir.
So take note of that. They are going to have another budget in 2018.
Okay. So when they make this argument, I also ask this question. Can't we have an expenditure in a particular budgetary period which will exceed that budgetary period? And I have done a bit of interpreting financial statements and
I'm saying that.
No. So I'm asking, can't we have an expenditure? You've also been an experienced member. I'm asking you, can't we have a budgetary allocation for which the expenditure of that allocation will exceed the budgetary period?
Oh, well,
yes or no?
You can.
Yes.
But I'm saying that.
So you can budget for, let's say, a project,
Roland,
255 million Ghana cedis.
Please.
But it spans.
No, it cannot span. It cannot span because you see, at the end of your budget, there is an appropriation that is given.
I understand that.
So I am saying that you must account properly. Okay? So if they say for this term we'll pay so much, next year we'll do this, that is how you're supposed to be reported. So having said that, and I'm saying that for us in the NDC, we still stand about the fact that we believe that this policy choice that they made is a wrong policy choice. It's in a wrong policy direction. It is not in the interest of the Ghanaian, not even the Ghanaian nurses, because as we speak, periodically, nurses who have completed school are picketing at the ministries for jobs.
And talking about picketing, we have colleges of agricultural students picketing at the Agric Ministry now.
Yes,
they want restoration of their allowances.
Okay.
Maxwell Agbagba.
Okay.
Maxwell Agbagba is there. Maxwell, good morning to you. Morning. Maxwell, good morning to you. Good morning. No, he was on the one on the floor. Good morning, Maxwell. Well, you can see Maxwell
good morning,
there.
Roland.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Roland.
So the colleges of Agric and their students are picketing at the ministry. When did they start massing up there?
Well,
Well, we seem to have had difficulty with it.
You see, interesting that this just dovetailed into what we are discussing. So I'm saying that, you see, when you are making a policy choice, that policy choice must have far-reaching repercussions. And this is an example. So if everybody who used to take allowances restore my allowance, are we going to restore it? Particularly at the time when we are saying we are not raising enough taxes, we are not getting enough money. Even our flagship project, which is the free SHS, for the first years, we will not be able to get money from our traditional educational sources to pay. But
somebody say you are just being too pessimistic.
No, it's not being pessimistic. I'm not saying that don't do
students of colleges of agriculture, they are picketing at the Agric Ministry. Perhaps maybe is a way of making sure that they have the allowances restored, perhaps. Maxwell, any latest from the students? When did they start? What will the fee? Foyer or the frontages of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, and they are protesting the lack of allowances and they want restoration. Just think about it. Yesterday, the president just had convened or presided over a formal ceremony announcing the restoration of allowances for nurses and midwifery institutions. Appropriate, isn't it?
No, and Roland, so my conclusion, Roland, is even the most absurd.
Which one?
Is the
restoration or the fact that more colleges want
that in saying that they are restoring. Don't forget that Nkrumah had these allowances. Buzia came and cancelled it. Jerry Rawlings reintroduced it. In all this, do you have any evidence that it was done with pomp, pedantry, and at the expense of the taxpayer? What I know about restoration of allowances could have been done just by a letter to the Minister of Finance, and we are home and dry. The important thing is for them to even receive. Now we've printed T-shirts. Ministers have traveled with 4-wheel drives. I mean,
the president went there with a plane or aeroplane,
and all the,
a helicopter.
All the other things that went in.
You're saying it's wrong?
It is very. I mean, we are a president who has promised.
Are you saying it is wrong?
Yes, the president who has promised us that he is going to protect the taxpayers' money. If this is the way he's going to protect our money, then it leaves much to be desired.
Okay, Maxwell is back. And before Mr. Chamateja comes in, Maxwell Agbagba.
Kindly come closer to us. I want to find out from you. About 300 of you are gathered here this morning. You came here as early as 5:30 a.m. Tell us, what exactly is the situation? First, your name and then your position.
My name is Chimbu Samson Sanika. I'm the national president of the Agricultural Colleges Students Union.
We seem to having some difficulty with the feed. We'll try.
Well, Roland, you see, I have.
George is accusing government of just wasting money.
I will come to all of this. I have listened attentively.
Undertaking brand activations, printing T-shirts, announcing this in the papers with advertorials, etc.
I've listened to George. I want to say that I don't think that I need to belabor the point. He has admitted that people must make choices, policy choices. We made a policy choice and presented it to the good people of this country. They had a choice, they presented it. The good people of this country thought that our policy choice was better. It reflected in the results of the elections.
Are you saying that whatever that is thought to be the appropriate by the public or for the public good by the people is the best?
It is important that the way...
Aren't leaders supposed to make the right choices for the people?
Yeah, but that is, we thought that that was the right choice. And the people confirmed it. Let us remind ourselves, in the last elections, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo got over more than 1 million votes, more than candidates John Mahama.
The figures didn't add up to that. The figures were 900 or something. The EC official figures did not count to 1 million. But
you understand?
Whatever it is,
it is a clear indication that the choices that you presented to the people thought that your choice, your policy options were superior. The Ghanaian is not that daft. The Ghanaian clearly understands. They are discerning enough to look at what you say and what the other one says. Okay. So, issues about quota and all of this, I admit, in virtually everything, there are quotas.
But that's not
fair. Sometimes
being a nurse should be by choice.
In any case, thankfully now there are options. So the fact that you didn't get into this one doesn't exclude you from still doing nursing. And it happens in every jurisdiction. In every jurisdiction in this world. We are not peculiar. All right. So now it is about, I was listening to my friend, struggling. The president announced that this will cost 238 this year. This
232.
This year could mean this academic year. The academic
You are
year
saying
struggles.
but you are saying could, but you said this year. We are saying
you
that this
see,
year.
But why are you also saying that when he said this year, it didn't mean
Because
this
the
academic
budget
year?
transcend year in, year out. We know, and it was reported in the budget that one of the things you wanted to do was this. And you say, Minister of Finance said it.
Roland.
Yes, sir.
In November, government will present
The budget.
the budget. We will need to cater for the second and probably the third terms. I don't know whether the nursing training colleges that the semester system or
I think they do the no. I think they don't do semester. Do they?
So they do the 3 term.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So in the next budget,
They do semesters now.
I don't know. I'm
They
not
do
sure. I
semester.
used
Then
to
it cannot be
teach.
10 months.
I used to.
Well, whatever it is.
That actually, if you listen to they are actually in school for 8 months.
Yeah.
And then they will be paid an extra 2 months to cater for
Clinicals
necessities
and all that. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know what George is struggling about.
I'm not struggling about anything. I'm just putting out facts.
In the budget, there will be a provision to cater for the remaining part of the academic year. And I choose my words advisedly. The academic year. In the academic year,
we have to be right.
2017,
in the commentary.
2018. In the academic year, in the academic year 2017-2018, school is academic year. It straddles 2 years.
But these things are paid on monthly basis. That's my problem.
In the academic year, government will provide 232 million to pay the allowances. Last but not least, George is telling the viewing public that Rawlings restored it, there was no fanfare. Rawlings did many things, there was fanfare. He did some things, there was no fanfare. I have said that Akufo-Addo
We'll do some things with fanfare, some others without fanfare.
Akufo-Addo made a promise to the good people of this country.
But restoration of allowance, you don't need ceremony. That's according to what the critics
that
are
is
saying.
well, but you see, as for
Because restoration, it's a transient activity.
Anything you do, there will always be two sides to a matter.
Okay.
Some people will think that
Well,
it
my
is
time
not
is up.
necessary.
I had wanted George
people-
to make a point, but he can't make a point.
Some people will think it is necessary.
Emmanuel Tremantinge
The president
is a member.
we needed to tell
He's
the
a member
good
of
people
Parliament
of this
for
country
Ayawaso
that
West
the
Wuogon.
things that we said we
Honorable
would do,
George
and
Low
they said that we couldn't
is
do.
also
Here
a
you
former
are.
member of
We
Parliament
have
for North
delivered
Dine. He's
all
also a legal
promise.
practitioner. Has his office just around here. I'm not advertising the legal. But thank you, gentlemen.
Roland.